Hey guys, and welcome back to Exo Medical Spa. My name is Connor and I'm one of the providers here. Today we're going to talk about facial slimming. So why do people want to do facial slimming in the first place? What are they trying to achieve? And then who is a good candidate and who isn't a good candidate for facial slimming? So let's talk about that when we come back. We've talked about the general aesthetic beauty, or what we define on the Western culture as beautiful in a female face. So with facial slimming, what you're trying to do is get a little bit closer to what we define as aesthetic beauty or aesthetic proportions. So we've showed a couple of pictures, and I'll show a picture again of a mom and daughter and what causes aging. And then also, if you look, we're always talking about that V shape. So what that V shape is the contour of the face. The top of the face, the cheeks, the temples, and the bottom of the face, the chin, the jawline. So what we're trying to achieve in general, and when I say in general, is there's accepted beauty lines, there's ratios when it comes to beauty lines, and when I say beauty, I don't mean how someone looks. It's just different cultures, such as Western cultures versus Eastern cultures, have different definitions when it comes to beauty. So if we talk about that V shape, we want a slim lower face and we want a wider upper face within proportion. So if you stretch out too much, out of proportion. If you go vertical and you have no slimness compared to a wider upper face, then you're not proportionate, and we're not talking about that V shape. So with jawline slimming or facial slimming, what we're trying to do is do one of two things. All right, so to achieve facial slimming, we're going to do one of two things. We're either going to expand the cheek or the temple to not actually slim the lower face, but what we're actually doing is expanding the upper, which in turn makes it look like you have a slimmer lower face. Now the second part of that is we're actually slimming the lower face. So if I start out with a very vertical proportion, what I'm doing is I'm leaving the cheeks and the temples alone, but I'm shrinking the lower face. So those are the two ways we can go about doing it, is either expand the upper face or the mid face, or slim and bring in the lower face. So now that we've talked about the two ways of doing it, how do we go about actually doing those treatments? So the way we go about doing those treatments, and I'll pull up a couple videos, I'll pull up a couple pictures so we can take a look together. But let's assume a female's jawline is perfect, but they have no pronounced cheeks and they have no pronounced mid face. So let's just say I had a female face, which for female faces, we don't want to be vertical. We want to be V-shaped. So if we're like this, what we're trying to do is take fillers and bring out that cheek. So by bringing out that cheek, it does a couple things. One, it lifts laxity off the front of the face, which we've talked about before we ever treat nasolabial marionettes, which look at the video we did last week. Before we treat this, what we want to do is bring out the cheeks to contour, to create that V shape, and also by building cheek volume, which I'll show you in this upper hand corner about the mom and the daughter. By simply bringing out that cheek, we are trying to anti-age, put back volume, and then what we're actually talking about here is slimming the jawline. Now the other part of this is, if your cheeks are already so big, so wide that you don't want to touch the volume, our nasolabial is good, your mid-face volume is good, cheek volume is good, but you have a very big lower face. And you'll see this on men quite often because they're trying to clinch and grind and build that lower face. But for women, you guys don't want a large lower face. I see this a lot with fitness people because when they lift weights, heavy weights, they're clinching a lot. Or you'll find this with people who grind or clinch at night as well. So what we're trying to do is slim this lower area. And we talked about this previously. In surgery, you can surgically remove excess. However, in a medical spa setting, we can't remove. You can either contour, shape, lift, tighten, or anything to mask the problem. So right here, we have this big old masseter muscle. What it does is it helps us close our mouth, helps us keep our mouth closed, helps us chew, helps us talk. But if you put your fingers on either side of your jawbone here and you clench, you'll feel that muscle. So what we do is we take Botox. And what does Botox do? It minimizes the actions of muscles. In our upper face, we're trying to reduce wrinkles. But by reducing wrinkles, we're actually reducing the movement that's causing the wrinkles. So by shooting Botox into the masseters, we're atrophying, which means we're working out that muscle less, which in turn means we're shrinking that muscle. So by doing it once, putting in the right amount of Botox, we are making this muscle weaker. And the analogy I use for people is, imagine if you stop doing curls for 3 months. Imagine if you stop doing squats for 3 months. What happens to your arms and your legs? They shrink over time. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to shrink this big masseter muscle so we keep the cheeks and temples in place, but we're shrinking and bringing in the masseters. And that is the second way to do jawline slimming. Now the last part of this, which I forgot myself, is because although we're building out this, although we're shrinking this, the other part of this is the chin. So if you have a very flat chin, it makes it look like you have a broader face. And I'm talking about females here again, because for most men don't want to jawline slim. But if you had a very flat lower chin here, I'll exaggerate, it flattens out your bottom. So by doing chin filler or projecting the chin, what we're doing is adding that lower point to the V shape. So the V shape we're trying to create, so if you were flat bottom like this, we're not as V shaped, but by closing in that gap or giving chin projection, we're further slimming the face. Now that we've discussed how we go about slimming the face, either projecting or slimming the lower face with Botox, is why do people want to do this? So either one, you're trying to achieve that V shape that Western cultures associates with the signs of beauty, or also we're trying to anti-age as well. So as we get older, our face that used to be all up here by our eyes, by our temples, and when we look at ourselves at a younger age, we're looking up here, begins to fall and sag. So I'll pull up this picture I love to use, mom and daughter. If you look at the mom, everything is sitting down here. So if all this weight is sitting down here and bringing our proportions down, we're not necessarily slimming the face because we're trying to contour or change our face. What we're trying to do is bring our face back to when we look like when we were younger. And that slimming effect is because all our weight and volume is held up top and not down here. So bring the cheeks up, we're slimming the lower face. Shoot Botox here, we're also slimming the face. But as we age, I'm not necessarily doing the Botox treatment that's slimming the lower masseters, the jawline. What I'm doing is I'm bringing out the upper face, cheek volume, temple volume, to lift everything out of the way. All right guys, so that is a quick recap in regards to jawline slimming. So one, why are we trying to achieve jawline slimming? And typically what it is we're trying to create that V shape, or the shape of youth when it comes to Western cultures, or the shape of beauty when it comes to Western cultures. Two ways to achieve this, right? Either one, we're bringing out volume in the temples and the cheeks to puff out the upper section, so it looks like we have a slimmer lower face. We use that with fillers. So fillers such as Juvederm Voluma, Restylane Lift, Restylane Contour, Radius, any number of fillers, which when you come into the practice, we'll talk about why you're using specific fillers. But we're using fillers to plump out certain sections to give you more of that V-line contour. The second piece of this is if you have perfectly good cheeks, perfectly good mid-face, and perfect temples, and you don't want to puff out your cheeks or your upper face anymore, what we're trying to do is notch in or slim the lower face. So leaving this alone, if we're able to slim that lower face, then you're causing that V shape as well. And the way we reduce this is Botox. So Botox to that chewing muscle, that clenching muscle, that masseter, in turn over the next 3 to 6 months. And usually you treat it every 3 to 6 months. And it depends on the units as well in regards to how big your masseters are. But by atrophying, by not working out those muscles, that muscle shrinks, in turn slims it over time. Now the last part of this, as I mentioned, is chin projection, which before we ever do chin projection, unless you have a very, very weak chin, is we got to build at the top, slim out the bottom, then we're putting chin filler to give that bottom point. So flat chin gives you a very squared off face, projected, pointing chin really anchors you and gives you that V shape. So I hope you guys like this episode. It's a little bit different, I know. I try to do something different every single time, and it really is driven by the questions I get here in office and also the comments you guys leave below. So what do you guys think about jawline slimming? Are you a candidate for it? Is this something that you guys have looked into? And did you know there was a multitude of ways to go about it? And did you know those are the reasons why we do jawline slimming or upper face filling? So leave a comment below. Make sure you hit that subscription so you always get that notification in regards to when we release a new video. And then also give it a thumbs up if you like it. It really helps the algorithm, and it also helps push this video to other places so people get educational pieces. And then it also pushes your algorithm so you get more information in regards to the stuff that you like to see. So I'll see you guys later on the next episode of XO Medical Spa.